Did you get the Northern Lights, by the way?
A little bit. We didn't get it as much as some people, but I got some, and it was awesome.
I was livid. Like, Nicole was laughing at me because we spent a week in Iceland and we didn't see the Northern Lights the entire time we were there. The last night, because it was snowing almost the entire time. The last night it was clear. We drove an hour out of the city to try and go see these damn lights. Couldn't see them at all. And then I get this, hold on, look, we get the map of where it's supposed to be. So the red line is supposed to be where you see it. You can't see the city names. Just so you know, we live barely below that red line. I was like, this is some bullshit.
Welcome to Scoop City on a Thursday. I'm James Palmer. We have been waiting all season for matchups like this. The headliner for me, Rams, Seahawks. We'll get to all the other ones as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please, it's easy. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. That's the name, what you're supposed to use. Listen, coming up in this show, we are going to talk about Zach Allen. He joins us. He is playing in that monster game between the Broncos and the Chiefs. Is this the biggest Broncos game in a decade? I'm going to ask him just that. Eagles, Lions, another monster showdown. Is this the biggest game for the Eagles moving forward this season? The latest on A.J. Brown. Zach Berman joins the show. Also, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. What's the latest on his health? And are they now in the driver's seat for the AFC North? All of that coming up on our Thursday Scoop City road trip. Let's get moving. All right, every Thursday we go around the NFL. Our first stop, our good buddy Zach Berman. He has the Taylor Swift mic. He is ready to give us everything he has about the Eagles. And we always start, it seems like every time you're on here, Zach, it's A.J. Brown. He's on Twitch. I don't know what that is, but he's playing as the Philadelphia Eagles, lighting it up as A.J. Brown, by the way, while he's on there. But speaks pretty candidly with a friend about that it is a blank show. He is very frustrated, obviously. Things are not going great. But then he spoke at length at his locker. That cleared up a lot for me. And I'm starting to have a different sense of this. I want to know where you stand about what's going on with A.J. Brown, because to me, it's starting to seem like we should be covering the lack of usage or impact A.J. has on the offense and less about his reaction to that as we push forward as an Eagles team tries to repeat as Super Bowl champs.
Yes, I am with you there, James. I think that the distribution method is creative, right? And I give him credit for that. He finds different things each week but what he's saying is not wrong. And he said that yesterday. He's like, I'm not going to apologize. He wants the offense to be better. He thinks the offense needs to be better. The Eagles won 10-7 against the Packers. A.J. Brown was targeted twice on the first drive of the game, and then not again until the last play of the game for the Eagles. He's too good a player for that to happen. And he's speaking up, as he says, because they can't just put a Band-Aid on it saying they're winning, everything's fine. There is a standard that they have for an offense that they're not hitting consistently enough. And if they want to win in January and in February, they need to play better offensively. And from my view, and I think from AJ's view, that requires getting him the ball more or targeting him more or him having more of an impact on the game. But overall, the offense needs to play better. You look at the data, you look anecdotally, the offense needs to play better.
Let me ask you this with that. And when I ask around the league, just to teams, what do you think about Philly? What do you think about this offense? I kind of hear back, like, I feel like they can only win offensively one way. Is that the case? Are they versatile enough? Like, we know the way they won last year. Is that the only way that they can kind of play effective offensive football?
No, I disagree with that. And I disagree with it because I saw them win in the Super Bowl a different way. And I've seen them earlier this year when they were winning some games. They beat the Rams and they beat the Chiefs and they weren't running the ball as effectively as they could or should. They were passing the ball better then, but they're not able to do it consistently enough. I think, and to their credit, but they are so focused on not turning the ball over. And you just look at the numbers from, the first 9 games of the Nick, or the first 10 weeks rather of the Nick Sirianni era. from these 5 years, this is the fewest points per game, the fewest or the fewest points per drive, the fewest yards per play. Mm-hmm. But what stands out is it's also the fewest turnovers. They are not turning over the ball. And Nick Sirianni, I've covered him every day of his head coaching career, and he speaks always about taking care of the ball, and that's what they're doing. So you could say that they're risk averse, but they view it's. They don't think it's mutually exclusive. They think you can take care of the ball and still be explosive. They just need to be more explosive than they've been.
Yeah, and a big part of that, and I think they're almost there in a couple of those explosive runs where they got a lot out of this offense last year within the run game. But you run the ball well and you play great defense. I understand not turning the football over is a good formula for success in the NFL, certainly. And I mentioned the defense. Jaelan Phillips' addition. Like, have you ever seen an impact like this right off the bat, Zach? And how does this change what they're going to do defensively, in your opinion, as a whole, and specifically getting after the pass?
It's enormous for them for two reasons. First off, he's an outstanding player. As you saw on Monday night, the effect that he had, not just getting to the quarterback, but in the run game too. But the other thing that this does is it slots everyone else accordingly, right? It's almost like if you acquire an ace pitcher, and then the guy who was the number one is now a great number two, and the guy who was the number two is a great number three. Think about this. Josh Uche, who took 30 snaps per game over the last 5 games, did not get a defensive snap on Monday night. And that's not a discredit to Josh Uche. It's because they add Jaelan Phillips. They get Nolan Smith back from IR. They add Brandon Graham. You have J.L.X. Hunt there. So you have your 4 here, and that's a strong enough 4 to really be a threat. And I thought in the first half of the season, their edge rushers was a problem on defense. They only had 4.5 sacks from the edge rushers going into the trade deadline. I just think this is such a dangerous group now that you have Jaelan Phillips because of what he brings and the way it slots everyone else behind him.
What a quick change. I mean, and I know Howie loves depth. You know this at the edge rusher spot in that rotation. It's crazy that this happened this quickly, and all kind of happened in 1 week after the bye. This game against the Lions, is this the biggest remaining game on the Eagles' schedule? And what does this matchup kind of decide, in your opinion, after we pass Sunday night in terms of the Eagles' chances of repeating?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest game remaining for 2 reasons. The second reason I'll say first, and that's the NFC East is not particularly good. So typically you would look at the Cowboys game coming up or the 2 Washington games, and you would say that it's that's for the division. That's more important. Unless the Eagles collapse, they're going to win the division. They have such a sizable lead there, and there's no one else who really looks like a threat. But really the main reason is because the Lions are a really good team. And I'm going to be a company man here. We have a great playoff simulator on the Athletic.
It's the best. It is the best.
The Eagles winning this game would be a 17% difference in terms of getting the number 1 seed. They would have over a 50% chance of getting the number 1 seed if they win this game against the Lions. And now there's a lot of things that can happen, right? We're talking in November, but this is enormous for that reason. And the Lions, unlike the Rams or the Packers, it's not a team that the Eagles see very frequently. They haven't seen them since the start of the 2022 season. There's a healthy respect between the two teams. In the locker room yesterday, talking to a number of guys, that's what came through. Like, they really respect the talent, the way they play, the toughness, the physicality. I kind of wish this game wasn't on a short week, because this is the type of game we could be talking about 8 days leading up to it instead of, truncated after a Monday night.
Yeah, it's a great point. I look at both offenses and it's like, who do you try to stop? What do you try to do? Like, and not just at the skill positions, the trenches as well. It's just, it's a matchup we're all looking forward to. So before we go, Zach, I'm curious, what matchup within this game are you looking at maybe closer than others that could potentially decide the outcome on Sunday?
I think the Eagles can pass the ball on the Lions. And I think, the Lions have moved some things around in that secondary, and they've had some injuries there. And I'm curious to see if that's the route the Eagles go. I mean, they're going to see man coverage, as A.J. Brown said yesterday. So with the way DeVonta Smith's playing right now, and that's kind of gets lost in that. He's on pace for a career year. With the way A.J. Brown can play, I want to see if the Eagles can move the ball through the air consistently, because this would be a week that you do it. But then also the Eagles' offensive line is battling injuries, and if they're healthy, this is a defensive line that can challenge them. And so I'm real curious to see that matchup on the line of scrimmage.
Lane healthy, or?
He's healthy enough that he returned to the game the other night. He would have been limited. I mean, they had a walkthrough on Wednesday. Had it been a full practice, he would have been limited. My experience, Lane Johnson, I've covered his whole career. If he's limited on Wednesday, he'll play on Sunday. So I'm expecting him on the field.
Okay, I faked you out. I have one more question because you brought him up, and I remember covering his pro day at Alabama. How much of a true number one is DeVonta Smith in your mind? Like, you know what I mean? If there was an A.J. Brown, who's maybe top 5 receiver in the NFL, the Eagles, in my opinion, could survive with DeVonta being a true number one type player. I'm just curious if that's overlooked. Do people, understand that? I kind of want to get your opinion and your insight on that with the type of player that we have seen in Philadelphia.
I can promise you it's not overlooked in that building. He is a number one caliber receiver for sure. I agree with you. It looks different than it does with A.J. Brown, just physically at 170 pounds for DeVonta, but that size is not a detriment whatsoever. I mean, you look at his contested catch rate, look at the touchdown he had against the Packers. He goes up and gets it. He climbs the ladder. He plays above the rim. All those cliches, those are applicable for him. But he's also so precise as a route runner. He's a number one in the way that Marvin Harrison was a number one, right? And just in terms of how smooth he is, how tough he is. And so, now you like having both of them, but if A.J. Brown weren't out there, DeVonta Smith, he's a top 10, top 12 receiver in the NFL.
That's simple. Yeah. It's a luxury. Let's get him the ball. Let's go. Enjoy this one on Sunday night, Zach.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Our road trip moves on as we head over to the Ravens, a big game on the road against the Browns, considering the hole that they dug themselves in. And Jeff Zarebrick joins us, who covers the Ravens just on an outstanding level here for the Athletic. Obviously, we were just chatting, Jeff. It's always Lamar. It's, he doesn't practice Wednesday because a knee soreness apparently is not related to the hamstring. But where do we stand with Lamar and his chances? I know this is a question that seems to have very few answers oftentimes during the week, and Sunday could be anything. Do you have anything for us with Lamar?
Yeah, never a dull moment when you cover Lamar Jackson. And we were sitting there waiting at practice yesterday, and we knew a couple guys would be out. We knew Marlon Humphrey was going to be out, and Rashad Bateman was going to be out. But then the quarterback's come running on the field, and there's only 2, and it just, here you go again. That's what it's like. But no, I mean, in talking to people in the building yesterday, James, they seem to think that this is only, he just needed a day or two and he should be fine for Sunday's game. They were even hopeful he'll practice on Thursday, but with everything Lamar, there's always the caveat that you never really know, because he's going to make these calls and when he feels ready to practice, he will be out there. So he took a pounding on Sunday though. He, even after the game, we talked to him and he looked a little deliberate with everything he was doing. And they got after him a little bit. And that one Dallas Turner hit was probably one of the hardest hits he's ever taken in his career. So if it becomes a one-day thing, I don't think it's the biggest deal. They seem to think he'll be out there Sunday and they'll be ready to go.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, was it like 11 quarterback hits or something like that he took? It was in the roughing the passer. It was, you could tell a little bit. This is huge considering with Lamar, they've averaged 31 points a game, without him about 14. And then I was looking at the unbelievable kind of, I don't even know, the playoff barometer you can check on the Athletic, which is super fun to play with. And with this game, and they've lost 3 of their last 4 in Cleveland, they go up to an 81% chance of making the postseason with a win here, down to a 65% chance if they do lose this game. What has it been about Cleveland, Jeff, lately that is, playing there been their issue?
Yeah, I mean, 3 or 4 years they've lost there. They haven't. I don't think they've ever swept the Browns in the Kevin Stefanski era. I think that's right. So
yeah,
most of it I think is defense, and they just play Lamar really tough. They get after him. The Ravens' issue in recent years has sort of been the pass pro at times, and the Browns have a good enough defense to exploit it. Jim Schwartz is an aggressive defensive coordinator, and he gets after Lamar. Even in that week 2 game where it was lopsided from a score standpoint, the play on the field did not seem lopsided until late in the game when, Flacco got stripped and they returned it. Roquan Smith returned for touchdown. That game was much closer. And, they play a really physical style that gives them trouble, and they really know kind of how to get after Lamar Jackson a good bit. And that's sort of been the primary issue. They have a lot of respect for the Browns in this building. I know, some of the criticism and some of the turmoil that the Browns are perennial going through, but they always understand that those are going to be really tough matchups for them.
Yeah, everybody has one eye or both eyes probably on Myles Garrett pre-snap, seeing where he's lining up. And if you can be more of yourself as an offense, Jeff, it seems like obviously that helps. You wrote a really good piece about, one, the dynamic that's going on in the tight end room, and then also just getting everybody back to maybe being closer to themselves, being able to play in that 12, that 13 personnel that we always love to see the Ravens play. And it's funny because that's become so in vogue now in the rest of the league, and the Ravens been doing it for a while now. Do we feel like we're in a spot where we're going to see Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, all this just kind of operate in the manner in which maybe the Ravens thought they were going to have at the beginning of the season, or even, I guess, in the offseason when they thought Isaiah Likely would have a larger role in the passing game or these things? Are we going to start seeing that this back into the season? Because I know that would be huge.
Yeah, I think that's what they're working towards, James. And you make a good point, because even in this, 3-game winning streak that's stabilized their season, we're still not seeing that consistent offense. Yeah. We're still seeing lulls for a half at a time. They were outplayed thoroughly in that first half in Miami a couple weeks ago on that Thursday night. They were outplayed on Sunday in Minnesota. The offense has really taken a while to get going. And it just seems to be, and we probably discussed this when I went on with you earlier, they have all these weapons that they've this is probably the most skill position talent that they've ever had. When you add in the 3 tight ends, no one talks about Charlie Kohler, but he's a really good player. And, you have DeAndre Hopkins, who's barely playing a dozen snaps, and they want to get Keaton Mitchell the ball more. It just seems to be, James, there's been these issues all year, like trying to get everybody involved, but sticking to what you do best. And where do you find that, that balance between everyone being happy, everyone feels like they're contributing, but yet we're at our best as an offense. And I still think they're striving for that balance. We still haven't seen the consistency yet from this team. I think they've taken some steps and they're building towards that. The offensive line has something to do with it. It's just not been a great year up front. And when you're struggling to run block and pass block, that's going to, affect everything. But we're seeing those improvements. That what you described is exactly what they want. That's exactly how they feel like they're most dangerous. But they're not there yet, where we feel like on a week in and week out basis, they're utilizing everybody they have and they're playing up to their capability.
Yeah, a lot of mouths to feed. You didn't even mention Zay Flowers, and he was supposed to take a big jump this year in terms of how they wanted this offense to go. You're right. It's just a lot of different moving pieces, especially with the health aspect that makes you try to figure that out as you go. What they seem to be figuring out a little bit, Jeff, is the defensive side of the ball. Like it's really been remarkable. I was looking at some of the statistics on it, what they're just allowed 14.5 points per game since week 6. I mean, that's third in the NFL. And I'm kind of curious for your opinion on, outside of just health, what stands out on what they've changed schematically, maybe on defense, how they're using Kyle Hamilton, it seems like, is a big part of that. Just what have you seen outside of just getting healthier that maybe gives you a little confidence about what they're doing defensively might be more than just what the stats are showing us, but they're actually playing better football?
Yeah, the big thing, the thing that I think you start with is Kyle Hamilton, and it's starting to get a lot of attention league-wide. I know Robert Mays has talked about it, but what this guy is doing right now for this defense is insane. Like, I hope everybody who, enjoys defensive football appreciates, like, he's basically playing like a strong side linebacker at times, and he's blitzing and he's beating guards with pass rush moves, and then he's chasing down plays in the back end. He's just been phenomenal. well. And even the impact they're getting from him closer to the line of scrimmage. And what he's done is he's settled things down a little for Roquan Smith. I think they've had young inside linebackers the last couple of years. And I think Roquan almost felt like he had to do everything by himself at times, and it was affecting his game. Now Kyle Hamilton's there in the middle of the field to help. And coincidentally, that young inside linebacker, Teddy Buchanan, a rookie 4th-round pick, leads the team in tackles. So he's getting helped. And the additional Lohi Gilman has really stabilized things on the back end. They've been much more organized, and it's helped everybody. I mean, rookie Malachi Starks is playing his butt off, and I think Gilman has really helped him, not only from a leadership perspective, making sure he's in the right place, but just settling things down, just playing solid fundamental football. And as you know, you create turnovers, you're going to have success. And this is a team that struggled to create turnovers, but I think they're averaging 2 a game or, whatever. And they only had like 2 forced turnovers in the first 5 games, and now they're creating 2 a game. And that totally changes that dynamic because that improves confidence, and that sort of resonates throughout.
Yeah, I listen, I know we got to run, but I got to ask you about this because you mentioned it, what Kyle's doing. And I think we need to try to put that further in perspective for everybody else. It was almost like last year, Jeff, it was like, hey, we need you on the back end. We need you back here. Can you go out there and change the defense? Yes, totally. Hey, now over the last, several weeks, he's playing 60% of the time down low in the box. Like, how rare is this player? For people outside of Baltimore that aren't Ravens fans that are listening or watching, just what he's doing, it seems like I need to save the defense. What do you need? I can do it.
Yeah, Mr. Fix It, right? Here's a problem, Kyle. You go take care of it. And it's John Harbaugh was asked about it, and from a perspective of, man, we've never seen this. And he said, well, do you guys remember Ed Reed, joking? But, and Ed did some of that, but I don't remember Ed Reed lining up as a strong side linebacker. No. I mean, this guy, it's insane really what he's doing. And James, I do worry a little bit from a physicality perspective that he's involved in almost every play, and can he hold up, and is he going to wear down? But I think they need him right now. They need to do what he's doing, and I think he's the most unique defensive player in the NFL, just with his skill set, and he can do so many things. Like, he's breaking out dip pass rush moves. It's where does this guy get this stuff? And I mean, look, this isn't a big year. I'd have to check the stats, but obviously in Denver they're doing it. But he could find himself in the NFL Defensive Player of the Year mix, even though he really doesn't have great ball stats, right? He doesn't really. He's not been intercepting balls or doesn't have a ton of sacks, but he's just been so important in everything he's been able to do.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Surtain didn't have crazy numbers last year. You know what I mean? It was just hey, you're really, really talented in how you impact the course of a game. And it was kind of noticed there, and maybe it's noticed with Kyle Hamilton this year. Jeff, appreciate it, man. Always good chatting ball with you. Make sure you read everything Jeff has on The Athletic, please. It's outstanding. Enjoy the game. Enjoy Cleveland. Do people say that to you a lot? Enjoy Cleveland.
Yeah, it's got to be better than 20 degrees Minnesota last week. So we got that going for us.
Yeah, hopefully you use the Skyways, man. Okay,
let's take care, James. Thank you.
I love talking to all those guys around the league, giving you that insight from inside the facilities on a daily basis. How about this? We go inside another facility with one of the best, if not the best, interior pass rushers and defensive end, Zach Allen of the Broncos. What does he have to do to get after Patrick Mahomes on Sunday? We'll find out next on Scoop City on a Thursday. Welcome back to Scoop City. I'm James Palmer, a very special guest with us. Zach Allen, one of the best football players, I'll say it, Zach, on the planet, the all-pro defensive end for the Denver Broncos. Let's start with this streak. We got 6 straight, right, with at least a half a sack going right now for you?
Yeah, no, it's been fun. Yeah, definitely longest of the career, and just got to keep on doing it week to week.
Yeah, man. Well, what you're doing is you're competing with other guys up front to see who can get these sacks. What is it like? I'm almost there. And then Nick Bonito is there, or Jonathan Cooper is there, or just what is it like as a group when you're going after the quarterback? And it's like, I beat my guy. I had a really good move. Somebody just beat me to the quarterback. That's kind of what we're dealing with this defensive line you're a part of.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously you want to play with great players. It opens up opportunities for yourself, but also, I guess the downside of it is you're going to have more sacks than anybody else in the league. So, it's a good problem to have, obviously, but yeah, no, I mean, it's a really special group up front. Yeah, we do have a lot of fun with like the competition aspect of it, but the guys have been great, and really lucky to be a part of this group.
Yeah, hey, it takes a little weight off of everybody's shoulders, right? If somebody's coming from a different spot all the time. I have to ask you this because I asked VJ the other day. Is Benito's first step, is this Von Miller quick? And VJ obviously doesn't want to say it, but he was like, it's up there, man. It's up there in terms of that first step. What's it like in the film room seeing the get off that your edge guys have? Is this a Von Miller type of first step we're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played with Von, but growing up, it was obviously, I definitely, watched him. And I think Nick, I pride myself on having a really good 10-yard and 5-yard. We do off-season conditioning and everything like that. We're always racing. And I think I could beat anybody in the league. And then once I came here against Nick, he's the only guy where it's like, I think he's got me. Yeah, it's special. It's a gift, and he knows how to use it. And it definitely, everybody up front's using it, to our own advantage also, because, teams are trying to, key on that and everything like that, and opens up space for us. So yeah, no, Nick's the real deal.
Yeah, man. And the reason I'm talking about him and you and this D-line is, I mean, this game on Sunday, I know you won't say it, but people around Denver are more or less like, is this the biggest game in a decade? Do you feel something around the city right now with the way you guys have played at 8-2, where the Chiefs are coming into town? Do you get a sense the magnitude just being around town leading into Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can tell, how invested the fans are. Just in the whole season, they've been awesome, especially this whole year. Obviously, you start winning, the support they've been giving us and everything like that's been incredible. But, for us inside, like it's just business as normal. We've already played some really good teams, and we're playing another really good team this week. So for us, we just got to, control what we can control, handle our process, and, we're excited for the challenge. It's
a challenge, and you can control what you can control, which is the trenches in front of 15. And I think that's kind of the matchup everybody wants to see on Sunday, is you guys as a group going against him. I remember guys on that 2015 defensive line, whether it's Marcus Ware, Von Miller, Malik Jackson, Derek Wolfe, all those guys saying Brady was the only one we could continuously hit and hit and hit and hit, and it wouldn't change how he plays. The reason I bring that up is you hit quarterbacks at a higher rate than anybody else in football. Dating back to last year, nobody's even close to you. Not Myles Garrett, not Trey Hendrickson, no one. You hit the quarterback so often. Is he the type of player that hits can impact come Sunday, or is Pat the type of player that you can keep hitting him and he's going to play the same style of football?
Yeah, no, Pat's a stud. I think, first off, it's hard to hit him because he's so elusive, which everyone's seen. And I think he can see the pocket the best out of any quarterback in the league, just anticipation-wise. And, then he adds in the pump fakes and everything like that. And create space for himself. But yeah, no, I mean, with him, I mean, we saw it, his whole career, he's going to get his, and he's going to do his thing. So, he's definitely, he's just level, consistent throughout. And that's why he's one of the best quarterbacks in football.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned kind of the space. I always hear from other people going, it doesn't look like he's moving that fast. It doesn't look like he's that fast, but he runs away from certain guys. What has the addition specifically to help you guys up front, Zach, like Huff and Trey Greenlaw in the middle of the field, guys that can help you out when Pat, is most likely going to run the football some come Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, they're incredible. I mean, I've been huge fans of them since I was in Arizona. I saw it, live twice a year, every year. And, the fact that we're able to, I'm able to play with them now is like the coolest thing ever. And, they're the great erasers. Any mistake we make up front, they're right there to fix it. And, yeah, I mean, it's really cool, now seeing them both together on the field and what we can do. And, I think that's why, the past few weeks when we got Dre back, and obviously Huff's been doing it all year, how special, they make our defense. So, yeah, no, we're really excited to, see how it plays out on Sunday with them.
Yeah, as much talent as you guys have on that side of the ball, I was probably thinking like, well, we're probably not going to get that much better in the offseason. Like, we're already really talented. Everybody's coming back, and you add those two guys into the mix. I put that in preface to the way you guys have played as a defense. Arguably, in a lot of people's minds, the best defense in football. And then the offensive side of the ball seems to get going by the fourth quarter. But you're winning these games, and you're winning close games. You're winning one-score games. Is the way you guys are doing it, what does Sean say? Is it sustainable? What do you need to change? Because you are winning, but at the same time, you want to be playing your best football come, December.
Yeah, I think for us, it's kind of, obviously we know, you obviously ideally, win by, more than one score, but also too last year, we found every single possible way probably to lose a one-score game. So the fact that we reversed it, that's what good teams do. Kansas City, last year was like 11-0 in one-score games, and made it to the Super Bowl, won the AFC. So good teams do that. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a really cool locker room because the guys, they come in every week finding ways to improve, whether it was a great performance or a bad performance. It's just everyone's just continually seeking to improve. So it's a really fun group and a good group, and we're going to just keep on getting better and better.
How did that mindset come into this locker room? When did you see it, I guess, to where I think in late in games, you guys just know you're going to find a way? When did that kind of come about in your mind that you've been able to play this way?
Yeah, I think it comes down to kind of the character of guy you bring in. I think, you kind of see that, who we signed and drafted and, traded for and everything like that, or, we drafted, guys with a winning mindset. And then also too, we really, worked this off season on situational football, being smarter. So the combination of those two things has been huge for us.
Yeah. Two more for you, bro. Your quarterback, I talked to defensive coaches that go against him. It's like, hey man, in the fourth quarter, he's as calm as can be. He still finds a way to make plays. He's one of those guys that just kind of has a little bit of that it factor that you just don't want to play against him late in games. How would you describe your quarterback in Bo Nix?
Yeah, he's an absolute stud. I think, we all know how special he is, and, he's proven that. And, we're always in it with him. And that's a big thing. And that brings a lot of confidence to all the guys. And, we see he makes every single throw, but off the field, the leader he is, everything like that. It's a really rare and special combination. So the fact we have that guy is huge for us, and, why we're doing so well right now.
Okay. Last one. And this is going to be your sales pitch, Zach. You don't want to lose Vance Joseph. I know you were with him in Arizona. He brought you to Denver. But man, his name keeps coming up, and rightfully so. He's that type of coach. He's that type of leader. What would be your pitch if, say, I'll just mention the teams that have openings now. Say the Titans asked you or the Giants asked you, we're looking into Vance Joseph as our head coach. What would be your sales pitch about your defensive coordinator about why he would be a really good candidate?
Yeah, I mean, he's the perfect coach because he gets it. He was a player, so he understands, guys from, what they need, what they're going through, everything like that. But at the same time, he's an amazing teacher. And, I think, I wouldn't want to game plan us because it's, we do so much different stuff. But he makes it so easy for us that, it's really, simple to learn. So he's been incredible, and, he's the ultimate professional, and, expects us to be the ultimate professionals. And, yeah, he's a culture guy, and I've just been really blessed to be with him for 7 years now.
I'm hiring him. I don't run either team, but I'm hiring him now. I don't. I know you love him. You love him. So last one in about 20 seconds. What do you think Mile High would be like when opening kick happens at 2:35 Mountain Time against the Chiefs?
Yeah, it's going to be special. I mean, every single game has just been getting better and better. So. We definitely have a home field advantage, and, we're really lucky to have the fans here. And that's the reason why I signed here, just because it's, it's a city that cares and is invested in it, and, really wants to be a part of a winning team. And they've been awesome.
Awesome. All right. Well, get to your meetings. I won't tell anybody what you said about VJ. I'll try to just spread lies, to make sure he stays in that room with you, man. Appreciate you taking the time. I'll see you on Sunday.
Of course. Thank you. See you Sunday.
Absolutely just one of the best guys in the NFL as a human being, Zach Allen. He's not only guy playing in a monster matchup. We have a few others that we need to break down, so we're bringing in our guy Mike Sando to talk about Bills and Bucks and Seahawks and Rams and maybe a quarterback, a star quarterback, could be on the move in 2026. All of that coming up on Scoop City on a Thursday. Welcome back to Scoop City on a Thursday, and this is a guest I asked for, and Mike came on. Mike Sando joins us, the best there is out there. Mike, thank you for joining us once again. We have some major matchups we need to break down. That's why I wanted to ask you, with everything you know across the league, this is the weekend we were kind of waiting for. I want to know with you as the way you cover the league, what will you do Sunday with these games that are at the same time, whether it's Chiefs and Broncos and Seahawks and Rams? What is your Sunday? Start me off there.
Yeah, so I've got, so right now I'm looking at you on a MacBook Pro, and then I've got probably maybe like a couple of 30-inch screens here that are attached to that. Then I have like on the back wall, I've got like the 60-incher, right? So usually on the 60-incher, I've got like YouTube TV, so I'll do the 4-box on that one.
Yes.
Usually. And usually the audio will be on Red Zone, especially when there's all the games going on, and I have others. And then sometimes I'll pull up maybe one more game over here, just if I really want to drill down. I live in the Seattle area, so I do more radio here. So I feel like I definitely want to have eyes on the Seahawks most weeks, a little more than some of the other teams, just because I do 3 radio hits in Seattle every week, so for sure. That, and I covered the team, going way back. So I try to have them on. So this week with them, I'll definitely prioritize that game. In fact, I was doing Seattle radio this morning, and I was like, when's the last time the Seahawks were like a top 5 team in the league?
Yeah.
Like it's been maybe 10 years, or I'd have to look. I'm going to go back and look because this just feels new and different to have this type of a game with the Rams where, like, I feel like even whoever loses, they just dust themselves off and they're still a good top team, but it's just going to be fun to see. And it's been a while.
It is going to be a blast to see. Let's start there. You look at both of these teams. They're the only 2 teams in the NFL that are top 5 in both offense and defense. Neither team has trailed in a game, Mike, since week 6. I mean, they're both just playing outstanding football. And there's 2 kind of matchups positions I wanted to chat with you on. And that's first, the defensive lines of both these teams. You look at the way that they create pressure, oftentimes don't blitz at a very high rate when they do that. If you're looking at either D-line, when you watch this game, specifically on maybe the 30-inch in front of you, which D-line are you kind of have a stronger eye towards because they're both outstanding at what they do?
I think they're both salty and sort of set the tone for their teams. My feel is that Seattle probably has a better rotation of the group, just the on the whole. But if you were to, poll America, Jared Verse is going to be the first person that comes to mind, probably. And he brings so much to their defense. So I do think that's where I start with this. And I think one of those defensive lines is going to set the tone for the game and help their team win it and be the difference. Yeah. And I kind of lean towards Seattle in this first game as maybe the team that has a little bit more to prove. I think that, whoever loses this game probably wins the next one when they play. I feel like it's that type of a game. And so I think Seattle's defensive line, the way they've been going right now, has probably the tougher thing to do, which is throw off Stafford. But I think they may do it enough in this game, just the way that they're playing with the group of guys that they have to tip the balance.
Yeah, and I know everybody loves edge rushers and everybody loves guys playing on the outside, but I look at the interior a lot. I look at those 3 guys in Seattle, and it's just like, it's a really, really good group in there. I mean, they really can move things around. And so that leads to the other part of it. When you look at the way Stafford has played specifically in the play action game has been out of this world in the way that they've done it. And I think actually Seattle's done pretty good against play action this season. And then when you look at Sam Darnold, and he was sacked 9 times the last time he faced the Rams. That was the wild card game last year. He's been sacked 10 times this year. So which guy, in terms of the 2 quarterbacks, when you look at them, in terms of handling pressure from these D lines that you look at and go, okay, but then I would maybe pick him going, I think he can handle what these defensive lines are bringing maybe better than the other guy.
Well, definitely Stafford is the true pro master of handling all the situations. I think he's ahead of Darnold, and that's not a knock on Darnold. I think he's the tops of the league in terms of just having seen everything, be able to process it faster than anybody. I do, though, think that both of these quarterbacks, when you get pressure on them, will put the ball in harm's way. And we've seen Stafford do that too. That's the Stafford, that we knew before in Detroit, or the gunslingery type thing. He's still there. You just have to bring it out of him, to do it, because and if you don't, he's just going to shred you. But he will trust his arm too much, and I think Darnold does too. I think both these quarterbacks are really good, but can be coaxed into some turnovers, I think. And so, that's going to be the jobs of these defensive lines to do. And I don't feel strongly one way or the other as to maybe both defenses have their moments.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Maybe this game comes down to
a last drive, or maybe it comes down to a field goal. I think the Rams are not hoping that it does, but it could be that type of a game where they each have their moments on the defensive lines, and maybe each quarterback turns it over once. Strip sack, fumble, interception, that type of a thing, and it's close down to the end.
Yeah, and they both have a go-to guy in Puka Nacua and JSN. I look at the compliments to each of them and what's the role of Rashid Shaheed, and then Devontae Adams. The compliment sometimes always in these type of games becomes a really, really big player with the focal point of one receiver that each team has. Listen, we had Zach Berman on to talk about Lions and Eagles, so we have that. We had Zach Allen, the defensive end for the Broncos, just on before you. So let's talk about another one of the big games that we haven't covered, and that's Bills-Bucks. I think everybody is waiting to see if this Bills team can kind of put it together. What the sense I get, and Chase Daniel was saying this on our show on Monday, Mike, was it almost seems like Buffalo can only win in one way. And it seems like it's kind of built off of, we can't get behind early. We want to run the football, but we have an issue stopping the run as well. How do you see this offense, when they weren't able to add a piece on the outside at the deadline, maybe evolving and changing that to where it's not just so focused on whether they can get James Cook rolling and maybe have something of a passing game downfield, which has lacked for a lot of games this season?
I think it's tough for them to do. I think that this was a team that, didn't get something done at the deadline and played like it. Like they sort of needed a shot in the arm. That being said, I mean, it wasn't like they could go out there and acquire A.J. Brown either. And, it's not like there was a long list of great wide receivers that were going to help them, but I do think they're kind of stuck at that position. Dalton Kincaid's obviously a very good tight end, but tight ends don't threaten the defense the same way the top receivers do. And so I think they have some guys that can be covered, and it makes it a little bit tough. You're right. I think they're boxed in a little bit in how they want to play. And defensively, they're, let's face it, we know they have had some roster issues there, and they've tried to get younger and but I think they've had, Matt Milano hasn't always been available, or, they're just not, they're just not as good. And so I also sort of feel like they're a team that we've seen not bring it every week, not just play with that same consistency. They beat Kansas City. So I feel like they can, you put them in a big game, maybe they can do it, but I don't feel like they're a team. I think they feel like a team that's been hunted for a long time, and they sort of don't always match the other team. I even felt like when they beat the Saints 31-19 or something, but it felt like it was way closer than it should have been. Yeah. And you look at some of these other teams that have gotten it rolling, like Seattle, they put a little bit of the Saints out of the water, right? That's what Buffalo used to do. So I think there's something missing there.
Yeah, I agree. And it wasn't, you could see from Brandon Beane's reaction in his trade deadline press conference, it wasn't due to a lack of effort from Brandon Beane trying to make some sort of move. I heard also on the defensive line was something that he was obviously looking at as well with Ed Oliver out, and they tried to improve this. I think that stress factor, Mike, actually shows me that they do know how much of an issue it is, and they really worked to try to fix it and couldn't find a way.
Yeah, I agree. I think Brandon Beane's been a little sensitive to some of the criticisms of the roster. He had a great segment. It was before the year talking about the wide receivers. He was questioned about it. He just about had it. But that shows you there's something there, right? I mean, he's not just reacting that way because there's zero truth to it. It's like he's annoying.
Yes.
Because you are trying to build it and do things the right way. And I think they've also talked about not wanting to, when you have Josh Allen, they feel like they're in the window every year. So don't do something that totally mortgages the future. But I think there's a fine line there. I think there's a time to strike too. And it doesn't mean that they could have gotten Micah Parsons or something like that. But I don't know. When you don't make that type of move and don't get over the hump, people will just kind of assume that you would have gotten over the hump if you did make the move, right? So I'd almost rather go down swinging, trying to do something and have it not work than not do something and have it not work.
That's a great point. I wonder if there's any buyer's remorse there with the third rounder they gave up for Amari Cooper a season ago and just didn't work out. And it's like, do we do this again? Maybe. Okay. I guess if you're in the window, you try.
But that's a great example of you spent something that was fairly valuable, a third round pick, on a player who obviously is available for a reason, but has played well before and it didn't work. So, that is, I think if you're Brandon Beane, you have to be willing to take the heat of not making a move rather than making a bad one.
Yep. Great point. I wanted to go into real quick before we go your piece you put up, which was the future for all 32 teams at quarterback. I went through this whole list I love the number of categories you have, by the way. There's a lot of specific ones in there for certain categories. But the first one that I got down to that really made me start going, man, my mind started going, was I'm financially stuck, but for how long? And the three guys in there, in Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence and Kyler Murray. If you were to pick one that you think might have, as you talk to people around the league, the least likely chance of remaining with their team, who out of those three do you think maybe has the greatest chance of playing elsewhere?
I would think that it's Arizona.
I think so
because
too.
It seems like the Dolphins are signaling so far, they could have easily fired Mike McDaniel, but they may feel like they're, stuck with Tua, and maybe he's their best option this next year anyway. A huge amount of cash there. So they know McDaniel might be the best guy to get it out of him. That's kind of what it feels like to me. So maybe Miami's reset, if it comes, is after next season.
Yes.
That's kind of what it feels like to me. And then, Trevor Lawrence, I think, is still their starting quarterback. It's only the first year with this coach. So I think they're a potential to do something, but I don't know if the writing's on the wall yet. Right. But remember Gladstone, they've made big moves. So I don't rule it out after the year, but I think you can see it kind of happening in Arizona where, putting Kyler Murray on the IR list when I don't know if they really had to do that. And they've kind of signaled they were going to go with Jacoby Brissett anyway. And I think we can all see that Brissett fits that offense better. So the question there is just really, does the staff survive this season? Can they do well enough that they get to stay? Because I think if they stay, it's pretty clear that Kyler Murray's not their guy. The question then would become, okay, Kyler Murray, $38 million fully guaranteed next year. No one's acquiring $38 million guaranteed. So if you're Mike Bidwell, the owner of the team at the end of the year, and you're changing coaches, do you try one more year with a different coach who might try to get it out of this quarterback? I think that's a lot of money, to eat for somebody who. What are you going to trade Kyler Murray for? What are you going to get? And how much are you going to have to pay?
You might have to eat all of that money. I don't know if anybody's taken.
They might have to cut him. It's a weird type of a thing. There's half the league doesn't need a quarterback. Half of the remaining teams don't want a 5'10" one, right?
That plays it in a very different style than the vast majority of the teams play the position. So,
and not consistent enough playing that way. I think that's the thing that a lot of teams run into with the quarterback who runs around a lot, unless you're Lamar Jackson and super special, it almost gets in the way as much as it does help you.
Yeah, it was interesting. I spent some time with them during training camp, and the vibe I kind of got was, we think we're much better, but Kyler is always a giant, I don't know. And everybody's curious if he's won the battle with coaching staffs before. Is this the time where they pick the coaching staff over the player moving forward? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just feel like, he hasn't shown to be that guy that leads your team and sets the standard for your team. There was a reason why that clause went in his contract, to get him to bear down. And
the video game clause.
People laugh about it, but it was a real concern. So that's hard to have at that position.
Mike, I could sit and talk to you football forever, but I know you got multiple obligations, so appreciate you taking your time out and enjoy your Sunday, because this is one that we've been waiting for this season. It's going to be, it's going to be something. It's going to be
absolutely
something.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Coming up, Jake Seeley's going to join us. He's going to give us some fantasy advice, as well as he's going to make sure that we all know about the list of the best high school athletic performances that are out there. Let's see if I'm on there. Coming up, Scoop City on a Thursday. Welcome back to Scoop City on a Thursday. It's Thursday. That means Jake Seeley joins us to talk about fantasy and lists. And this list is compliments of myself, I think, Jake, because this stems from us talking about Derrick Henry and his high school accolades. And then we got into a conversation because you live relatively close to where Allen Iverson played high school basketball and football. Did you watch any of the highlights I told you to watch Allen Iverson play high school football? Did you watch anything? I
didn't have to. He's from my home area. I've already seen Allen Iverson. So people actually came for me that he wasn't in the list. And I was like, the list was about stats, not play. Because Allen Iverson, the player, would have been one of the best ever of all time. And there was a lot of other players. You could talk about Randy Moss and players like that, but stat specifically. Did you? I don't know. So you probably don't read the comments on I do of every single comment because we've joked about that before. But somebody mentioned this about Joe Mauer for the stat that he only struck out once his entire high school career, which is insane.
What?
Joe Mauer, by the way, averaged 20 points per game as a point guard, threw for 3,000 yards and 41 touchdowns. and had 605 average with 15 home runs, 54 RBIs. That's all his senior year. Struck out once his entire high school life, once. When they retired his jersey, somebody told me this in the comments, and you can go look it up. They had the guy who struck him out surprise show up and hand him 3 baseballs. And then Joe Mauer remembered him. They didn't recognize him at first, but remembered it and remembered that he struck him out on a curveball and said, "Don't throw me a curveball with one of those."
Oh my God. That guy has a bar story for the rest of his life,
Right?
forever. And Joe Mauer reminds me of The Kid Who Only Hit Home Runs by Matt Christopher. How about, you didn't think you get a Matt Christopher reference of the childhood sports books that we read?
I mean, a lot of people weren't expecting a Matty Mook reference in the article or a Casimir Allen. So to be fair,
no, they did not. I'm jumping down to 5 though. Cheryl Miller with 100, and Reggie Miller used to always say, "I'm the lesser of the basketball players in my family." I think he always stated.
Yeah.
105 points in one game, going 47 for 50 is nuts.
with 27 rebounds, 9 steals, and she didn't play the fourth quarter. They benched her after the third quarter. She had 105 on 47 for 50 before the fourth quarter.
Dude, it's like high school sports are like 12-minute running clock quarters. Like, I don't even know how you score that many points that fast. We had 100 points scored on us in high school. And it was the most, like, I've been destroyed in baseball, football, and basketball in high school. Basketball with a team scoring 100 points against you is really something else. That hurts worse than actually getting destroyed on a football field.
So I'll have to tell you after this show, but I saw Tracy McGrady live in high school, and there's a story with it. I don't want to take up too much of the show. It's a good story though.
We'll talk about it later, because you know who played my high school played my high school while they were in high school? Kobe Bryant. All right. So that's a good one. Let's get to the fantasy aspect of this as we talk about our fantasy high school accolades. Jameis Winston. Woohoo! Here he comes. Mike Kafka, interim head coach, says, "I'm going to make a move. Watch me swing it right here. I'm going Jameis Winston." How does this impact, because we know he loves to let it fly, impact the rest of this Giants team in terms of fantasy, Jake?
So for Jameis Winston in his own right, if you've been playing the Daniel Jones and he's on the bye, you want that fill in. I have him at 15, and the only reason he's not higher is because I'm not benching Matthew Stafford or Patrick Mahomes or Mariota against the Dolphins. If you want to do that, toss up, I get it. But we know it's Jameis Winston's first start in a long time. He can finish the number 1 quarterback, or he can finish 21. Like, put it this way, 15 is wrong. Like, he'll be on one aspect or the other. But the big thing here is, I think not only does this get back to Wan'Dale Robinson having some fun, because we saw earlier this year with Russell Wilson, they were using him downfield more than they ever did. And I think we could get back to that for Wan'Dale Robinson. That I think if you've been saying like, he's been fine, he's been a wide receiver 4 on floor play. I think Wan'Dale and Darius Slayton obviously are both now wide receiver 3s with upside to finish as a top 20, 25 wide receiver this week. If you still have them and you've kind of been trying to play the mix and matchup game, just throw them back out there for both of them, because there's few quarterbacks that bring more upside, and especially when you have a concentrated target share for those two, because they basically have nobody behind them outside of Theo Johnson at tight end. This should be a good week for all of them involved.
Yeah, I remember like last year, I think I was at the game where he like lit up this Broncos defense that is so good for like 500 yards or whatever the hell he did in that game. He has it in him, man. He had it in. That was for Cleveland last year. Okay. Speaking of some quarterbacks and quarterbacks that are maybe injured or trying to come back from injury, in Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow. I know a lot of our bye weeks are behind us in some essence. So can you stash these guys waiting for a return?
Yeah, I brought this up because I was getting a lot of questions about it. And then if I have to stash one, which would it be? So I would look to stash either one, mostly because the Commanders didn't put Daniels on the IR, which shows, as you know, the hope that they get him back. But I think we all know that if either team is clearly out of the race at this point, they're going to think to 2026. Here's the difference. One of them is already practicing. One of them, their quarterback can probably keep them in the hunt, especially with how that division looks right now. The Commanders are so far back that it wouldn't be a surprise if Daniels and McLaurin are both done for this year and thinking 2026. So I would stash both, but if Burrow's out there, he would be the one that I would stash first. He says Thanksgiving-ish, which probably means the week after that. But, I mean, if the Bengals are going to be in the race, they'd pretty much have to go 0-3, and the Ravens would have to go 3-0 for them to think that we're really out of it. So I would stash Burrow just because we know he still has that top 5 upside. And as Joe Flacco stepped in and clicking, this offense should just not miss a beat when he comes back.
Yeah, and there's no team in the NFL no matter the record, that still thinks they're in it than the Cincinnati Bengals. Like nobody thinks like that other than Cincinnati. And I don't want to be Zach Taylor and everything that Joe Burrow has done to try to come back from this and try to go into that room and close the door and tell him that you're not going to be putting him back on the field. Like the look in Joe's eye, I saw what he did for Halloween when he dressed as the Joker. I'm not messing with him. I'm telling Joe, like, yeah, you can go back on the field if you want. Whenever you make the decisions around here, Joe, that's the way it works. Favorite buy low player for you right now is who?
Yeah, so the trade deadlines in fantasy leagues are this week or next, so your time is very limited. And I think there's a really good opportunity. Top 20 wide receiver on the season, by the way, this wide receiver, number one twice over his career, finished top 10 in points per game every other year except for this one. It's that Justin Jefferson guy, Jetta out there. Nothing beats a Jet buy low day for people that love those Instagram reels. Yeah, you like that one? Look. That was bad, but so has J.J. McCarthy been bad. And this is why I bring it up, because even as bad as McCarthy's been, all the metrics, all the throws, you watch McCarthy, everything's been the exact same with Carson Wentz as it is to McCarthy. The biggest difference being Jefferson is only catching 50% of the passes from McCarthy when he was catching almost 70% from Carson Wentz, because we see it. We see McCarthy has been off target. He's not been on the same page. He's got some Colin Kaepernick throws at times where he's firing it in instead of throwing some touch. So this can be developed.
For Colin Kaepernick.
I know, you like that? Well, that's that fastball mentality. That's the best example I always give. But you know this better than anybody, and that's the thing is I think Kevin O'Connell. How many games have McCarthy and Jefferson played together? The rapport is going to build. Kevin O'Connell is going to continue to work with McCarthy. It's going to get better. And my biggest reason for this is because the last 4 games, the final game before the fantasy playoffs, and then the final 3 for fantasy, no wide receiver has better matchups than the Vikings in those 4 games for Justin Jefferson. So if it starts clicking, you're going to be upset that you don't have Justin Jefferson on your team.
I thought at first you were going to tell me I should trade Justin Jefferson for something valuable.
See, that's why he's a great buy low.
I get it. I understand. I as well as anybody, I understand. Jake, did you play high school sports, by the way, as we close this out before as we take one final look at this high school stats?
So I begrudgingly admit that I did, because I played baseball my entire high school through college. ODU actually tried to get me to come out with the team. I overlapped Justin Verlander, and I was like, no, I'm going to be like the 32nd guy that only gets to play when there's like 20-0 and we're just getting destroyed or wait. So I was like, I'm not that good. I'm not going to do it. I played basketball through 10th grade. I was 3-and-D before 3-and-D was a thing, because I was a 90s kid. So once my 3-point shot went away, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not good anymore. And then I switched to golf. I played 1 year of football as safety, because my peripheral vision, for whatever reason, when I touched the football, I get the blinders. Like all of a sudden I can't see anything to the sides. So I played safety. I'm a really good ball hawk, but I only played 1 year of football.
Okay, that's fine. I can always picture you having a press conference for your retirement from one of these sports. That's what I would have loved to see.
I medaled in golf. I'm retiring from golf, everybody.
Guys, I'm officially announcing my retirement from golf. Wonderful. That is Jake Seeley. Outstanding on Thursdays, as always, as we talk about fantasy. I'd like to thank everybody who joined the show. That's Broncos star defensive end Zach Allen. We had Zach Berman from the Eagles, Jeff Cerebrick from the Baltimore Ravens, who covers them for the Athletic here, and Mike Sando, the brilliant Mike Sando, also joined the show. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy a monster Week 11 of NFL football this weekend. Enjoy.
Thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.